Welcome back to the Weekend Primetime. We start this hour with President Donald Trump's crusade against constitutional rights and how his immigration crackdown is sweeping up more and more documented immigrants. Just yesterday, the Supreme Court allowed the Trump administration to revoke the temporary legal status of more than 500,000 immigrants from 4 different countries: Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. Just a week earlier, the court also allowed the administration to revoke temporary protective status for 350,000 Venezuelans in a separate case. Think of it this way. These were people who were in the country legally and are now suddenly without legal status and protections. Put another way, in a matter of days, Trump has effectively created hundreds of thousands of new undocumented immigrants. Or, as our Catherine writes in her latest Washington Post op-ed, quote, Trump might become the most pro-illegal immigration president ever. Joining us now is Paola Ramos, MSNBC contributor and author of Defectors, The Rise of the Latino Far Right and What It Means for America. Also with us is V. Spear, host and creator of Under the Desk News. Thank you both for being here with us this evening. Paola, I'll start with you. So, how are these Supreme Court decisions being processed by Latinos? And particularly, I want to hear your take on folks in like the South Florida area, many of whom supported this president and, maybe feeling betrayed in some ways. Now, tell me what you're hearing.
So I would say that was one of the big stories of 2024, right? This idea that 45% of Latino voters voted for Donald Trump. In a place like Miami-Dade County, which is where so many of these migrants are coming from, Venezuelans, Cuban Americans, and Nicaraguan Americans were, I would say, responsible for Donald Trump flipping Miami-Dade County. So the way I see it is, Donald Trump, in a way, wins that election because he cast himself as this anti-communist hero. He said himself that he was the victim of communism, and here he is, threatening to deport Cubans and Venezuelans back to these communist regimes. Here he is, threatening to deport Haitians back to a country that is so dangerous that in 2024, over 5,000 people died because of gang violence. And so the question is, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, this to me is not surprising at all that Donald Trump is doing something like this. Now, this is part of his larger plan, but the question is back to those Latinos that you're talking about. How will they react? And when they see their fellow Cubans that fled from the very same countries that they fled from, will that change at all? Will that make them think in any way? And sadly, I'm not sure.
It's too late. I mean, what are they going to do about it now? Nothing. It's like you're just hoping that they're going to mobilize and vote in the midterms.
We'll see in 2026, but I mean, they can be out there protesting. I mean, there's things to do.
Which they're not doing, is what you're saying. They're not out there yet. Well, I mean, this just happened like a couple days ago, so obviously the momentum behind it, the organization behind it.
Sort of happened a couple
Well,
days
specifically
ago.
for Cubans, it just happened a couple of days ago.
Well, Trump has been trying to get this through for a while. It's just that the Supreme Court finally green-lit it. It's not like a surprise.
The thing with Cubans that's interesting is that Cubans have had a very different relationship with immigration because of this very privileged pathway to citizenship. And so this is perhaps for the first time ever that Cubans are finding themselves part of the immigration debate. When they see that fellow Cubans like them are being deported and are being racially profiled, and that's new. And that's
the person I actually really want to talk to about this would be Rubio.
Yes.
100%.
So both of us are descendants of people who fled communism in Cuba. And, Rubio speaks about what's happening in Cuba as an emergency, as a violation of human rights. So to, in a way, facilitate the return of your own people to a place that you say is unfit,
Well, Rubio was also one of the champions for Venezuelans in the Senate to get TPS, and now
immigration reform, and he was with the Dreamers. But that is, I mean, at this point,
he has sold his soul. He has sold his soul to be a part of this administration, which I mean is something you and I have talked about, little Marco Rubio, in the past. I mean, he was, to all of the points that have been raised, somebody who took principled positions, even in the war in Russia and Ukraine. This was a guy who stood up to Russia, and he did all of this for a seat at Donald Trump's power table.
He has this escalated investment in the Trump administration, right? So he was on the path of being a fairly decent person when he had to run for office and get elected. And then as soon as he switched over and became Secretary of State, he's now looking at it as, where am I most included? And where he's most included is in the seat of power that Trump wants him to continue to carry out. What I'm more concerned about right now is the story that's not totally making it out there, which is that Marco Rubio announced that they're going to have an Office of Remigration.
Yes.
That term remigration, in 2019, when it first started coming up, The Associated Press called that akin to a soft ethnic cleansing. It's the idea that you would deport anyone who does not uphold what Donald Trump considers to be Western values, and you could go back as far as you want. As it was, he was already trying to challenge birthright citizenship. They were already on the birtherism thing all the way back to 2008. So what I'm looking at is what Marco Rubio is doing with this office, who that will affect, and how late is it for everyone? Is he going to go back 2 generations? Is he going to send my family back to Albania? Like, what will it be, and who will be targeted next?